that coincides with everything that Goldilocks provides us as well. So it's a great two-piece, and it's an honor to serve with you, my good man, Jester.
Absolutely.
And,
No doubt.
yeah, because like I tell people all the time, 13, maybe 12, 13 years ago, you were the one that was the Lone Ranger out there
Boy,
with no Tonto telling the truth.
they didn't like it either. I have to tell you.
No, no. I mean, it's a blessing to, that's just the way God works, full circle here. Here you are, here we are, and with Goldilocks, uh, you know, that's providing so much information from so many different agencies throughout the world. And then with your perspective from the UST, we are truly in the right place at the right time. And we're going to kick off. I dropped into the room. There's 3 articles that we're going to break down for you tonight by Goldilocks. But the last one is actually the first. And it's not an article. It's a statement. I dropped it into the room, and it's very, very telling. This is very telling of what the articles are covering. And not only the articles are covering, but it's very telling of what Goldilocks is showing us that is transpiring with the new global banking system. And it says, Goldilocks says, essentially, this means that we are moving into an economy that will create an equilibrium between real world prices and market values. I'm going to read that again, and I'm going to read it slow. Goldilocks says, essentially, this means that we are moving into an economy that will create an equilibrium. So Goldilocks is talking about a level playing field. We even have heard President Trump say before. Actually, I believe it was in 2017, he was asked the question by a journalist about currency devaluations. And Trump's response was that he was going to work on leveling the playing field as it pertains to currencies. So when Goldilocks is saying this, essentially this means that we are moving into an economy that will create an equilibrium between real world prices and market values. What Goldilocks is referring to is the leveling of the playing field of not only paper currencies, but digital currencies and economies throughout the world with real world prices and real world values. This is very important because as we're moving into the new digital banking system, the new digital economy, the old system and the old economy can no longer exist in the new. And I remember Jester even saying this 12, 13 years ago when he talked about, and he'll say, of course, he gives credit where credit is due to his colleagues, such as Mason and Red Wolf and others, is that he understood back then, Jester was sharing back then, that we needed a new banking system. We needed a new infrastructure. We needed to return back to the Republic. And here we are. So when Goldilocks says this about the equilibrium between real world prices and market values, these 3 articles that we're going to share, some of them are technical, but now that you understand the basis of what Goldilocks is saying, from we're creating an economy with an equilibrium, it reminded me of and I'm not going to preach, but it reminded me of a Bible verse. Let me see if I can drop this into the room. Yeah, I'm going to drop this in. I think I can do this. I'm on my laptop tonight, and I'm used to being on my phone. But I just dropped into the room. This is Mark 2, chapter 2, verse 22. And I love the number 22 because it's my master builder number. And it says, and no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doth burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled and the bottles will be marred, but new wine must be put into new bottles. So this reminds me of the fact that we cannot have an old banking system and infrastructure coexist with the new banking system and infrastructure. It's like you cannot put old wine into a new bottle. And so these three articles, not only these three articles, but any and every time we see articles by Goldilocks, I want you to think of the new banking system that has actually it's been born. And just like the analogy that Goldilocks gave me the other day of building a new home, and Jester knows this very well, he's a builder, is that the foundation for the new banking system already exists. Now we're at the point where we're installing the electricity, the plumbing, the floors, which is the technology and the in the technological infrastructure intertwining into the new banking system. So moving into this new economy, the manipulation, the human manipulation, I want to be very specific, the human manipulation in the old banking system cannot coexist. It cannot operate, cannot live in the new banking system where technology with literally artificial intelligence will be taking over in order to, with the tokenization of assets, will create this equilibrium through technology so that human manipulation is not allowed. Jester, did you have something you want to add on that? I don't know if you were chomping at the bit. I don't know if I heard you say something. If not, I'm going to just go ahead.
Not really, I don't think. I mean,
Okay.
That's a good statement, quite frankly, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't have anything to add to it, though, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think it's in the right direction. That's where we're at, right?
Actually, I stole some of that from you 13 years ago.
I deliver that. That's the best. That's the highest form of flattery, right?
Exactly. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into, and like I said, I'm on my laptop for the first time. If you guys hear a bunch of noise in the background, that's people are still popping fireworks here. All right, here we go. Singapore's Portier announced it completed a proof of concept for Forex payment versus payment settlements using its blockchain network. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Remember, equilibrium that Goldilocks mentioned and that we posted in the room a few minutes ago. When you think, have your mindset on equilibrium. Have your mindset on the plumbing and the electricity being installed into the new house. This is just one part of many parts. This is just one of many. Singapore's Portier announced it completed a proof of concept for Forex payment versus payment settlements using its blockchain network. Participants include two of its co-founders, JP Morgan Chase and DBS Bank, as well as Japan's third largest bank, Mizuho. Portier already has a production solution to enable instant 24/7 cross-border payments via correspondent banks. Folks, when you think of cross-border payments, don't forget the creme de la creme of cross-border payments. The granddaddy of them all is Ripple via XRP. Other founders include Standard & Chartered and Temasek. Okay, so we're talking about Forex settlements on a blockchain. We shared with you last Saturday that Goldilocks provided an article by the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, with Project Mbridge, where you had over 87 central banks around the world that participated in a survey in 2022, and it was completed. You remember we had Zach read a portion of that report with me on the call. And so that was in reference to Forex transactions that were tested on large scale between central banks, peer-to-peer, cross-border transactions. If you recall, we used the analogy of cross-border, the example of if you have one currency, let's say the dinar, and you wanted to exchange or transact business with Vietnam, they're cross borders. They're not in the same border, so that's a cross-border transaction. When you exchange dinars for US dollars or dong for US dollars or any foreign currency for US dollars, that is a cross-border transaction because it's not within the same borders. If it was USD to USD, well, that's not a cross-border transaction because that transaction is US dollar for US dollars within the same jurisdictions, within the same borders. So understand, when you hear and see cross borders, these are multiple types of transactions between countries. And it's not only exchanges of currencies, but transactions. It could be wire transactions. It could be instant transactions with cross border. Okay. Most of the world's foreign exchange transactions are settled centrally through CLS settlement. It processes over $6 trillion in Forex payment instructions daily, reported last year. $6 trillion in Forex payment in a day, daily. Okay. Goldilocks continues. The only problem is that it only covers 18 currencies. It does have a DLT, distributed ledger technology, netting solution for other currencies, but it does not support PVP, which is payment versus payment settlement. What Goldilocks explains is this does give us an opportunity to enhance this particular system with digital ledger technologies going forward. Now, let's pause. When Goldilocks says the only problem is that it only covers 18 currencies, I know many of you are thinking, does it cover the currencies that we may have? That's not an issue, because with digital ledger technologies, this is the new infrastructure within the QFS. We're going into a new digital economy. The digital ledger technology, the DLT, enables all other currencies to participate as well through the new digital economy. Okay? A netting service allows two transactions to take place at the same time, such as a payment versus payment solution that can check to see that both sides of a trade, you can also say, for your understanding, both sides of an exchange have enough money to complete the transaction. Again, several months ago, Goldilocks shared an article from the CFTC, the Commodities Future Trade Commission, about swap facilities and swap dealer transactions to secure both sides and make sure both sides of an exchange, both sides of a transaction, both sides of a trade is secure and accurate. If you recall, we even used the analogy that if you go in to do your exchange and you're exchanging $1 million, you don't expect to get $500,000 in return if it's one-to-one. The purpose of this technology through the digital ledger technology in the QFS is to make sure that both sides of the transaction, there's enough money on each side. The transaction will not be completed unless it's accurate on both sides of your exchange. Not just your exchange, but for any transaction. This is even with trade from countries in the country. They could be trading products and services, goods, whatever it may be, any banking transaction. This is to assure that both sides of the transaction is accurate. Hence, to eliminate human manipulation. Okay? Goldilocks continues. This system is widely used because of its ability to reduce risk, both sides of a trade fulfilling their contract obligations. You can also say, ladies and gentlemen, this is widely used because of the ability to reduce risk in both sides of an exchange fulfilling their contract obligations. Emerging economies and advanced economies are working together with 24/7 instant payment services, but many transactions are settled within 1 day at this time. Instant payment services, folks, enables instant transactions. Not 1 day, not 2 days, not 3 days for a transaction to be complete, but instant. As a matter of fact, several weeks ago as well, Goldilocks shared an article, again, also about instant payment services through the BIS. Also, within that survey, with those 87 central banks, remember, our currencies are governed by the central banks. Emerging economies and advanced economies, within that survey by the BIS, with the 87 central banks, which Iraq and Vietnam was a part of it, as the survey within the BIS for these transactions, Iraq is classified as an emerging economy in that BIS survey. The United States, China, Russia, and several of them, going up top of my head, are classified as advanced economies. So here we have where Goldilocks is sharing with us emerging economies and advanced economies are working together with 24/7 instant payment services, but many transactions are settled within 1 day at this time. There is a concerted effort to expand this program into other currencies going forward. And this is where we mentioned the digital ledger technology within the QFS will enable other currencies to be integrated. The Project Portior does have plans to go live with this solution later this year. Okay, for those of you who obviously had the question, oh my God, do we have to wait to end it? No. Through the, am I mind reading, or you probably know folks had that question, Jester. That's why you're chuckling over there.
You're on it, my friend. You're on it.
With the digital ledger technologies, ladies and gentlemen, through the tokenization of our stable coins, through Ripple and XRP, and so forth and so on, we should begin to see movement eventually with regulations as well on some currencies. We will watch. So when you see Portior, may not be pronouncing it correctly, Portior does have plans to go live with this solution later this year. Remember, this is from Singapore. Singapore's Portior announced it completed a proof of concept. Remember, we already talked about ISO 222 is live globally. Goldilocks shared about a month and a half ago with the SWIFT system, which every central bank around the world is connected to the SWIFT system. ISO 222. SWIFT migrated to ISO 222 about a month and a half ago. That is just one of several of instant settlements throughout the global banking system. Just like we just talked about the Bank of International Settlements and Project Enbridge. There's others as well. This from Singapore is just one of several, folks. So just so that you are aware. Jester, you want to add anything to that, my good man, before we go to the next one?
This is a pretty powerful little deal. This Portior is a, I'm not sure what I understand what an atomic settlement is, but these guys are doing some real-time stuff 24/7. And I'm not aware of anybody else doing 24/7 in this venue, but I guess it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are kind of on the leading edge of a couple of things as you look. And they got some pretty good speed numbers and processing times and whatnot, transparent settlements, all that sort of thing. They're new on the block as far as I know, because I hadn't heard of them before. But there's a lot of these companies are doing that. They're brand new, and they see a niche and they're jumping right in it.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. We jumped on right into the next article provided by Goldilocks. We just dropped into the room. Again, remember, equilibrium, leveling the playing field, eliminating human manipulation, moving to real world values. All right, here we go. Binance is beginning to remove some of their spot trading pairs. I don't want to get too technical, but I'm going to try to break this down to layman's terms. When you think of spot, think of like something on the spot, like right now, like instant, okay? Like I mentioned to you guys a few days ago, or last week on the call, a lot of the terminology, banking terminology, the wording is actually intentional. Just like Goldilocks words are very intentional. So this term of spot trading as a banking term, you'll understand spot is like on the spot. Okay. Binance is beginning to remove some of their spot trading pairs. So on the spot trading pairs. Binance is a digital exchange platform for those that may not know. This is done when not enough money is being spent or fulfilling obligations and holding this pair or grouping together. For those of you, I'm sure there are many that remember about 3-4 months ago, there was this big hoopla and viral moment when some of the intel providers put out the pair, we're talking about pairs of XRP and dinar, or dinar to US or USD to dinar. That's a pair. So here we are. This is not speaking of Forex pairs, but this is the same, under the same umbrella of pairs. I'm trying to draw the picture for you all to understand when you hear pairs. It's a currency pair with another or stock with another. This is in reference to certain pairs. A dealer is forced to go to a market price for the cryptos individually. What this means is that a company is taking a second look at their prices due to a lack of supply and demand meeting production. This is called a market price. It is usually done when you're getting a bargain on the tokens you're buying at their rock bottom prices. So let's think of buying low. When investors realize they're getting it at a bargain on the sale prices, there tends to be an influx of money come through to purchase these new relisted and repriced tokens. So let's think of a deal. Think of a bargain. At this point, Goldilocks says, we are witnessing speculative tokens move into their real values. Now begin to think about what Goldilocks is sharing, that something is happening where here we have Binance is announcing that they're going to remove spot trading, the instant on the spot buying and selling of pairs of currencies, digital currencies. Goldilocks says at this point we are witnessing speculative tokens, which are the ones that people may buy and sell spot. We're looking to move into their real values. Remember, equilibrium. When the financial system begins to move into interfacing these utility tokens with real life scenarios, these market prices will begin to move into real world asset values. Utility tokens, folks, are tokens that have, think of the word utility, has a responsibility. Just like a utility to turn on the lights. These utilities have certain responsibilities to be utilized for a particular task or service. For example, it can be different cryptos, the utilities for the usage of moving digital assets, whether it's gold, silver, copper, whatever it may be. These different utility tokens will, with real life scenarios, these market prices will begin to move into real asset values. This is why Binance is removing the spot trading pairs. Goldilocks continues. I hope you understand where we are in the process as you reassess your portfolios going forward. Reassessing your portfolios that Goldilocks is referring to is your digital currencies may be in your portfolios, your XRPs, your XLMs, your paper currencies, your gold, your silver may be in your portfolio. We're going to get into silver in the next article. So Goldilocks is saying, I hope you understand where we are in the process as you reassess your portfolios going forward. I do not give advice on anything in this room, but I do believe you understand where we are in resetting prices in the new digital asset-based trading system. So here we have Binance. You can click on the link if you so choose and read it another time or now, where Binance is letting it be known they are removing. So this is a practice that they've had for quite some time. They're stopping it. What are they stopping? On the spot purchasing, buying and selling of certain cryptocurrencies. Well, what's going to happen is it's not going to be as profitable because you're not going to have the human intervention. I wouldn't even call it manipulation as it pertains to the exchanges. Human intervention. Well, what's happening is the assets are moving into their real values. There's not going to be that much, in layman's terms, margin on the prices of these cryptocurrencies. There's not going to be enough profit for traders to continuously trade these pairs because we're moving into a new digital economy of equilibrium, a leveling of the playing field. How does that happen? Through the assets moving into their real values. Like in Iraq, Goldilocks and I were speaking earlier about the official rate of the dinar and the parallel rate of the dinar, which is in Iraq, their illegal market. As Iraq is now moving into a digital economy, the illegal market for selling dinars in Iraq, which keeps the value of the dinar down, that market is going to go away. Because as the value of the dinar, the official rate, increases, it actually chokes the value of the dinar in the parallel market or the illegal market to where to go away. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, a part of Iraq's white paper economic reform plan that Dr. Shabibi wrote in 2011-12 is right before Iraq is to revalue their currency, they will eliminate the parallel market because the dinar will move into its real value. There won't be any profit on the street in the illegal market of the buying and the selling illegally of the dinar on the streets because of the equilibrium and the real value that will be set on the Iraqi dinar. That's just an example that you all may be able to relate to and connected to this article that Goldilocks just shared about spot trading with cryptocurrency, because you have an official price of buying and selling, and there's another price for buying and selling as well, which is speculative versus real value. So there's real values that are being moved on our gold, our silvers, our coppers, solars, so forth and so on. And then also paper and digital currencies. Okay. Jester, 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 giving you a chance.
Well, I've traded quite a bunch of crypto across the way, but and these are small coins. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They're largely going to delist these currencies that aren't really, or not currencies, these crypto pairs that aren't really, they're not really flourishing. They're not really, there's not really a volume because they got to, I mean, obviously the whole trading gamut costs money,
Mm-hmm.
and the poor liquidity and trading volumes part of their scenario that they look at.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
of course, I don't recognize any of these pairs anyway, so that might
Mm-hmm.
tell you. You know, uh, but you're right. I mean, this whole thing's an indication of what happens when something's not worth anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how it's going to adjust. I mean,
Right.
it's and they're gonna go that direction. So I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not surprised that and that was kind of like what happened here. It was a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about something that happened in the crypto universe.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, I'll think about that later. I'm not getting it right
Okay.
now. I'm having a little spark, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, delisting is something they do, pretty much, here and there across the way to keep the things transparent as to what's
Mm-hmm.
doing good and what's not. So
Right.
I expect to see that a lot more
Mm-hmm.
prevalent over time as things go the direction that we're looking at. As far
Right.
as the whole, as things start to balance out. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And actually,
Yeah.
what you just said, as far as balancing out as moving forward, is exactly what Goldilocks is saying in the next. It's not an article, but a quote that Goldilocks provided right at the bottom, where Goldilocks says, "I posted it into the room, folks." Under this article, it's actually referencing the article about Binance and the pairs, and right in line with what Jester was just saying. Goldilocks says we are moving from a market that has a speculative value to a market that has a use case scenario value on each asset across the board. This is the global currency reset, and we are right in the middle of it. What Goldilocks is referencing is like what Jester just said, is the balancing. We're moving into where assets are being balanced. The equilibrium is being created. And these are the beginnings of, with the pairs being delisted and removed, this is a part of the process to begin a global reset. So Goldilocks says this is the global currency reset, and we are right in the middle of it. Now, get out of your minds the Guru Intel provided term of global currency reset and thinking, boom, tomorrow all values are going to increase. No, this is a process. And actually, Goldilocks says that, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Goldilocks says the rest of this year will be currency valuation adjustments on every sector of the market. Remember, when you see the term currency valuation adjustments, remember of intentional, how a lot of the terminology is intentional. So instead of saying currency valuation adjustments, let's go backwards. Adjustments, valuation of currency. So adjustments to the valuation of currency instead of currency valuation adjustments. Adjustments to the valuation of digital currencies. Adjustments to the valuation of paper currencies. Adjustments to the valuation of precious metals that are going to back our currencies. That is the currency valuation adjustments. So Goldilocks says the rest of the year will be currency valuation adjustments, or the adjustments on the values of our assets on every sector of the market. This is a time when many of the assets that we hold are being assessed for new value determinations. It is a process and not a push of the button. Stay tuned, Goldilocks says. Now we're going to jump into, this is something that Goldilocks shared, I believe it was, earlier today. And this coincides with Jester. This coincides with Me Mom's excellent job she does in sharing on the debt clock, getting into silver and other assets. Here we go. Today, July 2nd, This is a quote. Today, July 2nd, the U.S. Mint notified customers via email that it will increase prices on all of its silver collector products, with the exception of the 2024 commemorative coins. The rise in the spot price on the spot, remember, the rise in the spot price of silver and other associated costs was cited as the reason for the price hikes, which will take effect on July 9th. That's coming up, July 9th. So the rise in the spot price of silver and other associated costs was cited as the reason for the price hikes, which will take effect on July the 9th. On the debt clock, we've been seeing movement on silver. Not only silver, but also oil and gold as well, but particularly heavily, very heavily, silver. Goldilocks continues. Several things could be going on here. One, supply and demand, geopolitical events, currency values, silver production. These is what Goldilocks is saying may be contributing to where the U.S. Mint have announced that they're going to raise the price on silver. Goldilocks continues. Each of these issues are currently going on at this time, but I'm aware of the demand for local currencies are on the rise. Remember, local currencies, folks, are the currencies of each country. They're on the rise in their countries and around the globe. These new demands for local currencies will begin influencing the metal markets. So when Goldilocks says that the new demands for local currencies will begin influencing the metal markets, what Goldilocks is referring to, what it means, is as the local, let's say, okay, let's be specific. As the dinar begins to, the demand for dinar continues to rise from not using the US dollar, as the dong begins to rise from dropping the US dollar, or just in the fact that the demand for their currencies are increasing. The same can be said for Vietnam after they are upgraded to a market economy. The demand for the dong can begin to rise as well, and other currencies around the world as they begin to use their own local currencies. I'm going to continue. I'm going to read it again, but under the same preference. Each of these issues listed above are currently going on at this time. Supply and demand, geopolitical events, currency values, silver production. But I am aware of the demand for local currencies are on the rise. These new demands for local currencies will begin to influence and begin influencing the metal markets, meaning that it will begin to influence and put pressure on the precious metals, gold, silver, copper, so forth and so on. Hopefully the demand for the new currencies going on around the world is creating the bulk of this change, but all of them would be correct at this time, meaning the supply and demand, geopolitical events, currency valuations, silver production. All of them is correct. Goldilocks continues. Futures contract prices are often based on the spot price of a commodity as a starting point. Just so that you're aware, folks, futures contract is the price of an asset determined in the future. Okay? Because of the four issues listed above, price determinations are often based inside a futures contract to meet the demands of increasing prices to meet those demands. The end result is an increase in the value of a commodity you hold. What's a commodity that you hold? Those currencies that you hold. Cryptocurrencies, paper currencies, precious metals, so forth and so on. So the end result is an increase in the value of the commodities that we hold. And now, what we'll do is remind you once again, essentially, as Goldilocks says, this means that we are moving into an economy that would create an equilibrium, as Jester says, balancing between real world prices and market values. Real world prices including the currencies that we hold, to move into real world values. If you hold gold, you hold silver or any other precious metals. That is also what Goldilocks is referring to, is creating an equilibrium between real world prices or real world values on the assets we hold. We are witnessing, when you look at silver, that is moving. That's a real world asset. It's moving into real world values. And you can see, if you look at the articles that Goldilocks has shared from the real settlements, 24/7, beginning to take shape, with Binance and the pairs being delisted in order to enable the lack of manipulation in the speculative prices, but moving into real values and real prices on assets. And then with the last article that Goldilocks has shared on July 9th, where U.S. Mint has made the announcement where they're going to raise the price of silver. This is what you are seeing, as Goldilocks has explained, is the preparation for leveling the playing field, creating the equilibrium, or the balancing, the real balance that Jester mentioned a few minutes ago. So here we are moving to, they're showing us, these articles literally show us the preparation and the leveling of the playing field, the preparation of it, by removing and delisting the pairs, increasing the prices for silver, the instant settlements that Portior has announced, Project Portior, out of Singapore, again, which is only one of many that Goldilocks has shared, such as Project Enbridge and others, to create this level playing field, this equilibrium, this real value, real world assets and values, or balancing that Jester talked about. Jester. You have anything you wanted to add on that? I think you're muted, young man. Yeah, you're muted. Jester, you gotta unmute, young man. Okay, you might be in the bathroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up for Q&A. So when Jester comes back.
No, sorry about that. I got on mute there, and I had to hunt my screen again. Sorry about that.
No, you weren't on mute. I heard something like water was like trickling. I don't know. Were you in the bathroom?
No, it wasn't on me. I was at the computer.
I'm just messing with you.
I see how you are.
I'm just messing with you. You ready for some? Oh, did you want to add anything to?
Did you get the last article that I slapped in your DM earlier today?
Yeah, let me share that. I'm going to share that right.
Know if you wanted to speak on
let's do it.
Now this isn't a fledgling. This is a fledgling thing here that's going on.
Let's do it. The de-dollarization. You get right on the money. Right on the money. Okay. The de-dollarization bombshell.
The way this all went down with me today. I was talking about this. I called Robert earlier, and he's like, "Hey, I saw this here," and I said, "Man, we had this a while back. This article's, I don't know, a couple of months old, and it came out. This is weird because he found it today from the International Sputnik news source. and
Mm-hmm.
back when I picked it up, it was on Africa. So it came into the Intel hub. I don't know if somebody posted it in the Intel hub. I can't remember who. I don't know. It's been better than a couple of months ago, I think. But he brought it up to me today again, and it hit me differently when I saw it today.
Okay.
This whole thing with the de-dollarization and the I was following the BRICS there a lot more back, I don't know, a few months ago than I am now. To be honest with you, I need to get back on it. But the whole decentralization of the monetary ecosystem that they talk about here in this thing is with a you think it's a fictitious token, but it's not. This unit has been going around for a minute, and I don't know if you had a little time to work about the white paper on that thing, but the white paper on this unit is and you guys look at it when you get a minute. The unit ecosystems, what struck me as being a really widespread, kind of almost like the other one we were talking about earlier. Unit token to buy, sell, use apolitical money for payments through an open payment and clearing system. And these guys, I mean, at some point in time, they got to pick. You know what I mean? They do, because we got XRP, we got the other little dude we talked about, and this and I mean, there's several, and not to say that money can be, I don't know. The U.S. uses money as a sanction in a way.
As a weapon.
They have the power to do it based on the dollar, right? You know what I mean? And this would be I think the BRICS is kind of onto something here. It's like an apolitical thing, where if you had a platform that didn't carry those, I don't know, I feel it was liabilities, but this whole, we're going to cut you off because we don't like what you're doing. It's kind of a bucket full. I mean, we do things other people don't like, but they don't cut us off because they can't, because we got the reserve currency, right?
Right.
So it's almost like lording over people that, quite frankly, we know they're tired of it. Of course, otherwise they wouldn't be doing what they're doing now. So, if you look at this whole, scenario with the unit, and Robert and I talked about that pretty good bit today. They're going to have to come up with something, and we don't know. Hell, it might be this for all we know, but an SDR, whatever. There's going to have to be a token that everybody can use no matter what.
Right.
It was XRP or this, and they're going to have to bring this together at some point in time. I'm starting to get a little confused by how many there are, quite frankly, that will all do pretty much the same thing. So, I don't know what Goldilocks thinks about which one they're going to land on after a little bit, but it's interesting that
the idea is XRP.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's interesting that the BRICS is picking on this. It's interesting because I think the BRICS is going to be hugely influential on what happens in the future.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially with so many more countries that are joining the BRICS.
Absolutely.
And speaking of XRP, all of the BRICS countries, of course, and every country is connected and they're able to incorporate XRP into the banking systems. For the most part, they're already designed and prepared for it. It just looks like the BRICS are looking to have their own alternative, separate and apart from in this term, unit or token that also has the same utility as XRP, but something separate apart from XRP. Something that may just be utilized within the BRICS nations only via there in the East, versus here in the West.
Well, there's not going to be a trouble with the QFS communicating this, so I'm not really worried if somebody has one and somebody has another.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they're doing is, very, um, very good. They're trying to tackle a weaponization of the
Right.
dollar.
Mm-hmm.
We've done plenty in
Yeah.
the past.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And with these countries and these nations, uh, like like the article says, the de-dollarization. This article definitely coincides with what Goldilocks was shared today and before about um, countries utilizing their own local currencies instead of the U.S. dollar. That's the de-dollarization
right.
for sure. And so yeah, this is a great article. As you were talking, I was reading, and yeah, concept. It is a new concept in terms of international currency anchored in gold. 40% of the international currency in the new this unit within this unit, 40% will be in gold, and the BRICS plus currencies will be 60%. Okay, it is neither the crypto nor stable coin as is shown here. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look into this even further tomorrow. I like this. I like this.
Cool.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
I'm glad
It's
to
in
bring
the.
that. I looked to scan to see if Skydancer was here. If he had anything that he'd like to
Isn't
answer, because I guess we
okay.
talked about it for about an hour today,
Let me
and
see if I
it was
see it.
interesting that he brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I noticed it in the Intel Hub a couple of months ago, but it
Mm-hmm.
didn't really register it was going anywhere until he brought it up today. So interesting.
Gotcha.
I would give him credit for that, of course.
Okay. Okay. I'm looking for him. I don't. Scott Dancer, if you're here, if you can raise your hand.
I already
So we
looked.
can.
He's not.
Oh,
He's
you
not
did.
on
Oh,
here.
he's not here. Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 All right. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure he got some credit.
All right. Cool. You want to
Because
open up for some Q?
he reintroduced me to it.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. 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 So you all right, folks. We got about 30 minutes, and you ready for some Q&A? My good man.
Absolutely. I like it's my
Okay.
favorite. You know.
All right. All right, folks. Let's get some hands raised. Let's get you on. Just raise your hand, and we will recognize you and get you on. Get you on. Get you on. All right. Now, don't tell me we did such a good job explaining these that there's no questions. We can't take credit for that. Mm-mm-mm. If there's no questions, I may call somebody out.
Hey, that sounds like a plan.
Okay, okay, okay. No, that's a record. No, oh, there we go. Okay, so we'll get to ET, and then we see you, ET, and okay, ET, you can unmute, young lady.
Hello, Freedom. Hello, Jester.
Hello.
Hello,
Thank
hello.
you. Thank you so much. I look forward to these calls.
You're welcome. How you doing?
Good, good. Very well.
Good, good.
I have a bee in my bonnet, and I keep asking this question about the derivatives because commentators, economists, and analysts, they always talk about the derivatives as the balloon deflator, like everything is going to crash, everything's going to collapse because of these derivatives. And yet, when I read Goldilocks, it seems to me that they're just going to be transferred into tokens. So what is going to happen with the derivatives to the economy?
Okay, that's what I thought that's what I think. I believe your major concern, correct me if I'm wrong, your major concern and question is if there's going to be a crash.
Yes.
Okay. We don't see fear is very profitable. the selling of a crash is extremely profitable in terms of platforms, people, economists, different people that you mentioned, of garnering attention to platforms to sell a crash. We are moving into a new asset-based banking system where precious metals, real-world values, will be set on various commodities, our paper currencies, our digital currencies, gold, silver, and the tokenization of these assets, where the tokenization of these assets is like an anchor, a parachute to soften a blow to the economy. Therefore, we don't see it as a crash, but a transition. Jester, you may have a different perspective or a different view on that.
People need to understand derivatives. I mean, derivatives are just what do we call it? Best way to say it is derivatives are financial contracts, okay? And they can be set by two or more parties, and they get their values from assets, groups of assets, or baskets of whatever. I mean, they trade on exchange. There's a few of them, and then there's a bunch of over the counter stuff. The over the counter stuff's the scary part, but that's another story altogether. If you understand derivatives, they're just a contract, and as Freedom Fighter is saying, those contracts will be they'll just be done a different way, and they'll be tokenized or whatever. Smart contracts or whatever that you want to do, and can this still blow up? I guess the derivatives can be used to hedge prices risk also, so they can also go the other direction. I think that there's I guess it was Buffett that coined the whole derivatives time bomb bull crap. Buffett's a pretty smart guy, don't get me wrong, but the potential for the dramatic disruption that he predicted or said maybe could happen, I just don't think it's there. I mean, you're asking for an opinion, I guess, and because otherwise you wouldn't be doing on this call. And so that's my opinion. But derivatives in the mortgage market were some of the cause of the crash of 2007 and 8. And we get that part, but they did a lot of things. This is why a lot of these things that came out of that were done with the banking systems. You know what I'm saying, Freedom? I mean, that's why a lot of the whole Basel and all that stuff was done.
Right. To safeguard.
Do that again. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I share the same sentiment in my discussions with Goldilocks as it pertains to a crash. It is not going to be the doom and gloom scenario of a crash that has been put out into mainstream. It's more of a transition. We're transitioning into a new banking system.
Right.
And for a lack of a weekend, if you want to say a crash, the old banking system is going to crash. We're moving into a new one.
There's a whole lot more safeguards now than there were then. That's a fact.
Right. See, because the gold and the silver, the commodities that are going to back all of the global currencies, those are safeguards. The assets, the tokenization, the stable coins that will stabilize a country's currency, those are safeguards. And we have the regulations. We have, of course, MiCA that now is in force, and other countries that will follow the crypto regulations or additional legal safeguards that are being put into place, that are actually being put into law. And there are safeguards to also prevent such a quote unquote crash. Does what Jester and I shared, does it make sense? Does it answer your question?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It totally answers my question. Because they were linking also a jubilee, a debt jubilee, to
There
the
it
fact
is.
that the derivatives were going to crash.
There it
Stop
is.
listening to that.
That's what I was referring to with the fear is profitable. They hook you in with the fear, which is a problem, and then they present a solution to say the debt jubilee is the solution. It's the solution to this crash. And oh, by the way, I got a friend who has these dragon bonds that you can buy for discount in 24 hours, and you buy it up. It's all marketing.
Yep.
To hook you in. Does what I'm saying sound familiar?
Yeah. But
You can buy a solar powered generator because the world's going to go to hell in a handbasket and you're not going to have power.
Yeah.
Where are you located, ET? What are you in the United States?
I'm in Austin, Texas now.
Oh, okay.
I used to be in LA, California. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Austin. I've been to Austin one time. The downtown where I've only been there one time. When I lived in Dallas, I went down to Austin. It's a good nightlife down there, and it's a good barbecue. But I won't eat barbecue.
Yeah, lots of good food
and brisket. Yeah. Yes. All right. Did you have any more questions, or did we answer them for you?
Well, so I suppose that all those currencies that are undervalued will find their level, like the dong or
it's the equilibrium.
Equilibrium,
the leveling of the playing field. Like I was mentioning earlier, when Trump came in office several years ago, when he was asked about the currency devaluations, he talked about leveling the playing field. And the new banking system, the new asset-based banking system, the QFS, is actually built in order to level the playing field. And a part of what Jester just mentioned a few minutes ago about the safeguards as a result of the the crash from 2008 in the real estate market. A lot of these safeguards into the QFS will be digitized in order to safeguard from major crashes, major issues. But now, with those safeguards, help to enable and allow equilibrium, leveling of the playing field. When you put on top of the stable coins, the regulation behind the stable coin, the tokenization, now we get into real world values on assets. That is where the leveling of the playing field, where currencies must move to their real values in the new banking system. That doesn't mean, and I gotta preface this, I must say this, especially knowing that you've been listening to some of the guru foo-foo. I must say, the numbers, the astronomical rates that they've been telling us for all these years, when it comes to the currencies moving to real values and the leveling of the playing field, is we must watch and see as they move into their real values through supply and demand. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because you may have these big numbers in your mind. You may want to stay away from those places where you're hearing those numbers. I know they're there because they're there, right? Right or wrong?
Yeah.
It's understandable.
But they always use the Kuwait example for the Iraqi dinar, which it kind of makes sense, and they use other currencies in the region to quote the 3-to-1. I mean, I've heard higher, but the 3-to-1 is what I hear more often. And they justify it by picking some other countries in the region.
Right. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, but supply and demand is what will determine the. I mean, on that note, I'm glad you said that. They watch this. I'm gonna share something in the room about that, and bear with me for a minute, Jester, because what she just said, how we know who they are.
Yeah.
Put these numbers. Watch this, Jester. I'm gonna put this into the room. This is from article in Iraq. Where Iraq, and we won't go into detail, but I'm going to share this for you all to read on your own. And ET, you'll appreciate this.
Thank you.
It's Jerusalem. Hold on, Jerusalem. Jerusalem Post. Hold on. I'm glad you said this. Okay. In fact, okay, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to pull it from here. And this is a good opportunity for education for all of us on this topic, and I'm going to share it right into. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. Okay, I'm going to drop this into the room because this is right on along with your question, or your statement, I should say, about what the foo-foos say, and make sure. Okay. Okay, drop this into. Do this. Do that. Do that. And do that. Okay, did it go? Okay, there we go. Is that it? Yes. Now, on that note of what you said, this is an article. You see it in the room?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm so glad you brought this up. And this is a quick learning education for all of us. This is a quote from the article. Okay. Goldilocks shared this several months ago. This is a quote. The Iraqi government is currently weighing the question of changing the currency so that the official cost of a U.S. dollar will be 1.32 Iraqi dinars instead of 1320 dinars.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you?
Good. It's good.
Now, this is directly from Iraq. Now, let's click on the link. Let's do this together, and then we're going to go to the next question. I saw you, Patriot 1717. Raise your hand. Let's click. Can you click on the link, ET?
Yeah.
Okay, click on the link, and then scroll down, because this quote. Scroll down to where the paragraph where the Iraqi government. It says the Iraqi government is currently. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Can you read that for us, please? Some participation from you, young lady. Can you read that? Read that, please.
The Iraqi government is currently weighing the question of changing the currency so that the official cost of a US dollar will be 1.32 Iraqi dinars instead of 1320 dinars.
Right. Pause. I'm sorry. I'll let you continue. Because the current rate of the Iraqi dinar right now is 1320 dinars.
Right.
Right? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what's called their official rate. It's 1320 dinars, which was approved in the budget last year, 3-year budget. Mm-hmm. The rate is 1320. Now, please read this paragraph again, the Iraqi government. Please go ahead, read it again.
The Iraqi government is currently weighing the question of changing the currency so that the official cost of a US dollar will be 1.32 Iraqi dinars instead of 1320 dinars.
What that is the deletion of the 3 zeros, and it'll take you to 1.32. So they're saying, this is from Iraq, that instead of from 1320, they'll drop 3 zeros, and what are they considering the rate to be?
1.32.
Versus Guru Fufus are saying what?
They're saying 380.
Who do you believe? The Fufus or Iraq?
Iraq.
Okay.
This is great, but this is great anyway.
It's great. I just wanted to share that with you. I'm sure other people probably had the same question, but this is in writing from Iraq.
This is fabulous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
All right.
Enough time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Jester, did you want to add anything to that, my good man?
Well, I don't think so. That's a nice discussion, but you're just right. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So
yes, sir.
No big deal.
Okie dokie. Patriot 1717.
The numbers in there. That was good, by the way. Good, nice little discussion there.
Yeah. And actually, I remembered that so well because I was talking to Goldilocks earlier, and we talked about that article, and so it was just, her question was perfect timing for me to remember that.
Ah, right, okay.
Patriot 1717, you can unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for taking my question.
You're welcome.
I'm not
Calm down, Jester.
Okay.
You don't even want to know what I'm thinking right now.
Maybe I'll just ask my question. So
no, it was good because I was unexpected. You had good questions in the room the other night too, by the way. I appreciated those, and I invite everybody to come in there. Everybody needs to get a mouthpiece here and get brave and bring those questions out. So I'm giving you a kudo there. All right.
Thank you. It is. It's a little scary and intimidating. Like I feel like right now. I feel like I'm calling into a radio station back in the day. It's like, wow. Oh my God. But, all right. So my question is kind of two-pronged. My understanding is that there's two big things that we have to have accomplished before we can actually move forward with everything. Number one being the legislation, and number two, Bretton Woods 3, announcing the gold standard. I think I recall months ago Goldie referencing that. So is it, how do I put this? Number one, is that correct? That we're waiting for those two things before we can actually move forward with anything? And then number two, can we, all right, let's say they pass the legislation for the stable coins, and then certain countries are ready one by one. Can we start trading in our currency at that point, or do we have to wait until Bretton Woods 3 announces something grandiose?
Good question. And actually had this discussion about a month ago or so with Goldilocks.
Okay.
So the Bretton Woods gold standard announcement, they of course eventually will make that announcement. However, and this is a good however. Okay, so when I say however, it's not a bad however. It's a good however. It actually goes in line with your question about regulations and stable coins. So once the regulations, particularly here in the U.S., of course, other countries are moving to the regulations as a result of MICA. But as we move into the regulations being implemented and the assets, the digital assets, because remember, the stablecoin regulation regulations are so important because the stable coins will be tokenized. So that's the digitization of the stable coins backing each country's currencies. Now, once that happens, the tokenization is they'll be tokenized by commodities such as gold, silver, so forth and so on. So let's think of gold, where the currencies will be backed digitally, tokenization, digitally backed by assets. Those assets such as gold, backing through tokenization, backing each country's currency, is technically a gold standard, because countries will be backing their currencies with gold. This is why so many countries have been repatriating their gold. This is why the tokenization of stablecoins is so important, and the regulation, which is the legal framework, is so important. Because as these countries move through the legislation and the regulation of the stable coins, the movement of gold, I'll just use gold since you asked about gold, the announcement per se can still come from Bretton Woods, but in theory, once these countries back their currencies through stable coins and the legislation, therefore the digital assets, the digital real world assets, will be able to move through the banking system. Real world assets such as, and we touched on it on tonight, the article that we shared earlier by Goldilocks, is the real world assets and the real values, such as the real values on silver that we talked about. There will be real values on gold. But those assets will be backing, gold will back each country's currency. So there, in theory, a gold standard will be in place. Bretton Woods will just be a formal announcement. And I believe your question is, do we need a formal announcement to move forward? You can think of the answer as being no, because we're already seeing assets move. We're already seeing silver move up in value. We're already seeing cryptocurrencies move in value. We're already seeing it already. We saw 2 months ago, gold reached its all-time high, for example. We're already seeing the movement. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it actually did.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Thank you so much.
I know you have another question.
Well, I kind of forgot what it was because I was paying attention to what you were saying.
Okay.
So it's gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gone.
If it comes back, you have so many questions in Jester's room. Jester said, now you only have one.
What's up with that?
I know, because you could think you call into a radio station. Okay.
Yeah.
See how you do us.
All right. Well, thank you so much. If I think of it, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
thanks again.
You're welcome. Good question. All right. Who's next? Please raise your hand. We're ticking down to the last moments of the call, but we at least want to get any more questions. Yeah, you're right, Jester. In the room, they ask you a ton of questions, but they get scared on the conference call. All right. So it looks like, Jester, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on, my good man? You got to unmute. Jester. All right. So, so it looks like we have no more questions, but I want to wait until Jester comes back. It's the case if he has anything he wants to add, but I'm not sure how long he's going to be. I'm going to give it some time. Does anyone have any more questions? There you go. Thank you, Rachel, because we're waiting on Jester. Okay, Rachel, you can unmute.
This just a quickie, Freedom. Did we get a recording of this call tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right. Did you come in late?
No, but I've been multitasking, and
okay.
I want to re-listen for clarity and make sure I understand what's in front of us. So,
all right, now, no problem.
Well, I know somebody had asked in the room if we were going to, and so hopefully, if anybody got on the call and didn't get that response, then now you know we got a recording. So
you got a recording, beautiful. You're all good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Bless y'all for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. All right, Jester, I don't know if you can unmute if you're too busy. I didn't want to leave without you at least. Or maybe you got tied up. Maybe you're on the phone. All right, beautiful folks. Any more questions? I'm trying to stall just in case. I want to make sure we get Jester back on if he had something he wanted to add. All right. All right, cool.
And one other thing while we're waiting on him, Freedom. Are we going to continue the call in Jester's place after we hang up here?
Oh, good question. Good question. We can. Vigilance, are you? Oh, I see you.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Yeah, we can go back over there. I'll open up the room.
Excellent. Good question. I'm glad you asked it. Thanks, Rachel. All right. So, all right. Jester might be on the phone, folks. We're going to bid you all a good night. However, please join us over in Jester's place. And also, as a reminder, next Thursday, the higher learning call with Anastasia will be back. She was sick, but she's better now. I spoke to her today. Her voice is back. All right. We'll see you guys. And make sure you have any questions, comments. Feel free to join us in the Goldilocks QFS dialogue room Monday through Saturday. And then also in Jester's place starting at 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. All right, beautiful folks. Everyone have a good night. We love you. And we'll see you over in Jester's place. Ciao.